I don't see what's so funny. I don't find it amusing at all. There's this mullah and a rabbi and a priest, and they walk into a bar together in New York, and the barman says, "What is this, some kind of joke?" They say that brevity is the soul of wit. I think I just disproved that. I think jokes should be long, don't you? I don't think they can easily be political. Politics isn't very funny. I don't find it amusing any longer. I think what one needs is actually not better politicians, but a better electorate and some better journalists. Well, you guys just laughed at donkey and elephant jokes. Jesus. And at people who brought cue cards. The last time I did this was at the Improv, and I was beaten by Joe Lieberman with cue cards. How funny was that? It's like a Larry King interview. You know the questions are going to be tough. He says, "So, you got all the money in the world, you have the supermodel on your arm, you have the book contract, the MacArthur Genius Award. What the fuck is that? What the hell is that about?" Then you know you have a tough question from a member of the press. And people don't even listen to the answers. People don't hear what they're saying. Jimmy Hoffa Jr., when he first ran for president of the Teamsters Union, they said, "What's your ambition?" He said, "I want to follow in my father's footsteps." I heard him say there was no supplementary question, no follow-up.
You also tell the story about getting a spanking from Margaret Thatcher.
Yes, I've had physical contact with Mrs. Thatcher. Baroness Thatcher, she knows.
Were you an admirer?
Sexually I was, not politically.
You thought she was attractive, physically attractive?
I wrote, when she was first elected as leader, most of the press, almost everyone in the press, thought the Tories had gone mad and they'd chosen this shrill suburban housewife. Everyone wrote in this rather snobbish way about her. Well, they must have been wrong, mustn't they? Because she went on to change the course of events very dramatically and British society. And I thought I was earlier than most to see that she had something charismatic, I would say, that was partly sexual. She had the most beautiful skin I've almost ever seen on a woman.
Well, people say the same thing about Sarah Palin. Do you support Sarah Palin because of that?
No, she has got no charisma of any kind. I can imagine her being mildly useful to a low-rent porn director, yes.
You revealed
Mrs. Thatcher, you see, would be no good in that way.
Yeah, probably not.
No, I mean, you can't picture it, can you? But you've already pictured Sarah Palin, haven't you? So what I'm going to have to do to, beguile the weary hour is, I've no intention of being brief, by the way. The brevity bit is over. I think all filth is local. And that a joke isn't a joke unless it's at somebody's expense. So there's this guy fighting traffic driving home in Los Angeles. Really tough on the freeway, and he knows he's going to be late home, so he picks up his car phone and he punches in the number. The voice answers, "Sí?" He says, "Teresa?" "Sí, señor." "Just tell the missus, would you wake her up? I've got something to tell her." She leaves the phone, comes back, says, "Mrs. in bedroom, señor." Well, wake her up, I've got to talk to her. "No, Mrs. in bedroom with other hombre." "Okay, she's still fighting this fucking traffic." He says, "Okay, where are you? In the den?" She says, "See? Look at my desk, pull open the left-hand drawer." "Have you pulled it open?" "See? Is there a gun there?" "See?" "Okay, take the gun, go upstairs, shoot her, shoot him, get on the extension." "See?" Long, fighting the traffic, juggling the whole thing, and finally the extension's picked up, and he says, "Teresa, is it you?" She said, "See, have you killed them?" "See." "Okay, now I want you to open the window and throw both of the bodies out into the swimming pool." "No swimming pool here, senor." "Is this 3102? It was early last September, As near as I remember, I was falling down the street in drunken pride when I fell into the gutter, thinking thoughts I dare not utter. And a pig came up and lay down by me side. As I lay there in that gutter, thinking thoughts I dare not utter, a fair young maid came by and she did say, you can tell a man who boozes by the company he chooses. And at that the pig got up and walked away. And the pig got up, slowly walked away. Because what I think, you see, maybe, thank you. You're very good, you're very kind. You're most kind, you're most kind. If a joke can't be short, if it can't be long, if it can't be clean, it should be at someone's expense. It's like limericks. Most people think limericks are going to be filthy. That can be where they make their big mistake. There was a young engine driver named Hunt who was given an engine to shunt, saw a runaway truck, by yelling out, duck, saved the life of the fellow in front. You see, that's what you want, isn't it? You wanted that to be filthier. Well then, there are these two onions, male onion, female onion, rolling along together, pump, bang into each other. Instant rapport. A torrential affair begins. They can't get enough of each other. Pretty soon, an onion bonding has occurred. Not long after that, they think to tie the knot, get together, make it legal. And their union is blessed, you'll be glad to hear. And a little baby onion, tiny little cocktail onion is born. And this means, of course, that the father onion has to put in more time at the shipyard, extra shifts. You know what it's like. Mother onion, much encumbered with other work around the place, and this and that, and the baby onion isn't as well supervised as he might have been, and as baby onions will, the door being left open one day, rolls out, across the sidewalk, right into the path of a sodding great lorry, flattened out, rushed to hospital. Team of surgeons fights all night to save his life. Mother onion, out of it, heavily sedated. No more, can't take it, gone. Father onion rolling up and down the corridor outside. The emergency room going like this, wearing a little groove in the ghastly hospital carpet. Towards dawn, the flap doors open and the surgeon comes out pulling the mask from his head and dashing the perspiration from his eyes and says to the father onion, who rolls up anxiously and says, well, what? Tell me, is he what? He says, no, he'll live, but I'm afraid he's going to be a vegetable for the rest of his life. Because what I think, and I may be in the right melancholy frame of is the problem with Washington is solitary vice. Solitary vice, the sin of Onan, and the unwillingness of people to admit to it. I'm thinking of the vice both obscene and unsavory, holds the Bishop of London in slavery. With lascivious howls, he deflowers young owls that he lures to an underground aviary. That kind of sin. I'm not thinking of the sort of more cheerful kind, where the pilot. This is about a Delta male, by the way. The pilot. It's an easy takeoff. He slumps back, tells the passengers the usual stuff, then throws the microphone back hangs it up, and says to his co-pilot, "Geez, well, that's over. All I need now is a cup of coffee and a blowjob." But he hasn't hung it up right, and it echoes down the cabin. So one of the stewardesses, did you see that Senator Kennedy, by the way, on the Stewardship Act of the Prevention Treaty, referred to it as the Stewardess Act 3 times? before it was taken out of the congressional record. That's actually true. So the stewardess, hearing this and panicking from the back, runs up the aisle to tell what's happening in the cockpit and alert them. And as she runs up the aisle, someone shouts rather heartlessly, "Hey, lady, don't forget the coffee." I just sit alone making pathetic word games for myself. I look out of the window, I look down again at the console. I just do sad, lonely word games. Trivial. Pathetic, really. The one I'm working on now is one where you just take any well-known phrase or saying, which has the word heart in it. Replace it with the word dick. It cheers me up, sometimes. For example, bury my dick at Wounded Knee. I left my dick in San Francisco. Dick Break Hotel. The dick is a lonely hunter. The dick has its reasons. It can really, a whole day go by. And so, but wait, I'll tell you what the payoff is. The payoff is that every time you hear someone refer to the heartland, a sort of wintry smile can creep across your face. I'm going back to the heartland. Yeah, I heard that. Yeah. No cue cards, right? Nothing. Just a second here. So you wouldn't believe how dry it is backstage. So, I have to leave you with this, because you have been a really great audience, I've honestly. Even though you will laugh at anything. This is the longest joke I know, and I'm giving it to you. It's a kind of a free gift. Anyone who remembers this joke will know how to tell it at any length from now on. You can build in new wings to it and new extensions to it, if you want. I'll give you the condensed version. Picture, if you will, a romance that kindles between a young man and a young woman. Her eye is first caught by his extraordinary courtesy. He will always take her coat. He will always open the door. He's always unfailingly polite. He's a man of extraordinary consideration. He finally talks her into the sack. You can build in the extensions later if you want. So extraordinary is the convulsion of pleasure to which he brings her, and the attention that he pays in order to bring this off, if you will, that she lies hardly daring to speak and says, I never knew that it could be this way with a man and a woman. I just wish there was something I could do to please you as you've pleased me. And he says, well, as a matter of fact, there is something you could do if you cared to. And she said, well, just name it. And he said, I kind of wish you'd give me a blowjob. And she says, no, I wish you'd said anything but that. Something tells me that if I do that, it won't be the same between us. You won't respect me. You won't admire me, esteem me, revere me in the same way. You won't defer to me. So he's a gentleman. He takes it very well. This is the first date. It goes on like that. It goes on like that for for a year or so, and it's always the same. And you can do your. And every time she says, "I can't tell you," and if only, and he says, "Well, actually, since you mention it," and no, but she says, "You won't. You just. I know it won't be the same. You won't respect." They get married. The honeymoon night is a torrential tribute by him to her, of every conceivable attention. But in the meantime, always the door held open, always the taxi door held open, always the coat taken, always the deference, the tenderness. But even on a honeymoon night, she won't. She just won't, because respect is a big thing. The 10th anniversary comes. See how I'm leaving you the room now. The silver wedding. I think we're talking about the pearl anniversary. Takes her to Cancun or Cayman Islands, I don't know, somewhere beautiful. The finest suite, the limo, the thoughtful, well-chosen gifts, the door held open, the attention, the courtesy, and the unfailing pleasuring. And finally, she lies back and she says, again, in a dream of bliss, "You've given me all these decades of love and care and tenderness and sex. And I just wish, if only I could, requite this in some way." And he says, "Well, you know what? I know I've mentioned this before, but if you could just see your way to..." And she thinks, really, why not? What can it hurt? So, in what is still an almost maidenly manner, she falls to, she does her best, and it's pretty good. And then it's over and she thinks, "No, that was wonderful. I should have learned to please him like this before. And I should never have worried about his attentions, his courtesy, his deference." And they're lying there unable to speak in this dream of mutual assurance, and the phone rings. And it rings and rings and rings and keeps on ringing in their suite, and he says, "Aren't you going to get the phone, cocksucker?" Well, it's been real, and you've been very patient, and I salute you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.